Good morning. Welcome back from Thanksgiving holiday weekend. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. I hope you had a great time to relax, sleep in, go Black Friday shopping, whatever it is you wanted to do this past weekend in your time off. I hope you had a chance to do it. Okay. So I want to start by talking to you first about what this week is going to look like. And so right now I'm going to start talking to you about what Tuesday and Friday would look like, because those are the days that technically I don't see you. And so I just want to kind of let you know up front that on Tuesday and Friday, you will have a ReadWorks assignment. It's not going to be like The Run. I can't find another series that's, well, age appropriate and that I think would be interesting for you. So it's going to be two different articles. And remember, those will roll out automatically. I will enroll you guys in ReadWorks, which you already are. And then that will push out, and it will probably push out to you guys Tuesday morning and Friday morning a little bit after midnight, and I can't really control that. And I'm kind of sorry. So for those of you who weren't with me at the start of the school year when we did the ReadWorks, it's just an article. It will come to you. You can listen to it. You can read it. And there's a couple comprehension questions that are multiple choice, and it will show up automatically on Classroom. And it'll say you have an assignment, and you just click the link, and you should be able to go right into it because it should sync with Google Classroom when I upload the material. So that's what Tuesday and Friday will look like. Wednesday, right now, I'm not anticipating having to pull anyone for small groups. Certainly am available, so I just kind of wanted to throw out to my kids who are new, who just joined us last week. We are working through the novel Freak the Mighty. I hope you guys have a copy of it. I put some in the front office for you, and if you don't, please let me know because I do have extras that were ordered specifically for you all when you rejoined us. And so we are up to and through chapter 11. And so this week we are only going to read chapter 12. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read chapter 12 in this video, and then I'm going to go through some of the instructions for the questions and then talk to you guys a little bit what that looks like. So on Wednesday, if you reach out to me on Monday or Tuesday and say, hey, Miss Berry, I need to talk to you about this chapter chart that we're doing, the reading response chart, where we talk about how Max changed or how Kevin changed, and we look at figurative language, and we do some description with that. If you need some help with that, or you have no idea what I'm talking about, which some of you may not, and I'll talk to you guys in just a few minutes about that. But on Wednesday, if you need my help with that chapter chart, reach out to me so we can schedule a time. I do meet with my social studies teachers and my language arts teachers. We have a team meeting, and then we have a school-wide meeting on Wednesday. But I'm available in the afternoon, and I could meet with you one-on-one or small groups to talk a little bit about those reading response charts that we have. And so that's one of the things that I was going to offer for Wednesday. But let me know. Okay, so we can get that scheduled, and I can write it down on my calendar and make sure that I'm there on time for you if you need me. So today, like I said, we're going to be reading chapter 12, and then we will be working on the chapter 12 questions, and then we'll be working on that chapter 12 reading response chart. And so when I assign the work today, I'm just going to be just kind of saying, hey, here's what I want you to do. Start this, but it's not going to be due until Friday. Okay. So the work that I'm assigning this week that deals with Freak the Mighty will come to you today. Again, reading chapter 12 reading response chart, and then the chapter 12 questions. And then I'll be looking for completion of those by Friday. Okay, and then we will meet at 10 o'clock through a Google Meet on Thursday. And we'll just have some discussion, and we'll talk a little bit more about what some of these items are and kind of some of the things with Freak the Mighty and how we need to maybe kind of catch up from the holiday break. So when we left, right, Kevin and Max had left Loretta's house. They had found the purse. They had discovered that Loretta and Iggy knew who Max's dad was. And so now they're both a little freaked out. And so one of the last things that Kevin says is, good riddance to bad rubbish. And so we're going to read chapter 12. Killer Kane had a kid who got no brain. I felt real bad for Freak because he hates it when people try to rub his head for luck. But I don't say a word. I just run us home, dumping the shortwave back around the pond, And my big feet never even trip me up because I'm on automatic. It's like I'm this running machine. Whoa, Freak says when we got to his house. Now that was an adventure. Huh? An evil dude like Iggy Lee? I mean, we were lucky to get out of there alive. Freak goes, wait, that was all talk. Oh, yeah, right. I mean, the real deal is that I was scared the whole time I was there, and so was Freak. And he's not going to admit that now. That stuff about my father was true, Freak says, studying his fingernails and acting real cool again. The fair Gwen won't talk about it. All she says is, he made his decision and I made mine. But I know he ran away because of me. And you know what? What? Good riddance to bad rubbish. For some reason, it really gets me laughing. It's something about the way he says it. Or maybe it's all that nervous stuff left over from the New Testaments. I mean, whatever. I'm rolling on the ground like a moron. And Freak is strutting around and saying stuff like, Loretta, my queen, wouldst thou accept my hand in marriage? And Sir Iggy, wouldst thou do us a big favor and fall upon the sword? And I'm laughing so hard, I can hardly breathe. Everything is pretty much okay after that. And one thing we don't do, though, is we don't talk about my father, good old Killer Kane, which is fine by me. Right? So Kevin's kind of come to terms with the fact that his dad has left. Right? And so his mom doesn't want to talk about it, and he references that, and then he tells Max, good riddance to bad rubbish. Right? Rubbish is garbage, right? So take the trash out, goodbye, see you later, don't need to be around you. Right? But Max doesn't talk about his dad. Right? And he's not really ready to talk about his dad. And so that's one thing when you're looking at growth in characters and you're looking and you're thinking about that reading response chart, Max is learning more about his dad and more is creeping into his mind about what he remembers, but he just isn't ready to talk about it, right? And it's something he pushes to the back of his mind that he fights hard to make sure he doesn't remember. Back to the book. School. For the last week or so, it's been like getting jabbed with a little needle every time I hear the word. Grandma's trying to pretend how excited she is that I'm finally in 8th grade. Like this is a really big deal, which is a joke because the only reason I got passed from 7th grade is because they figured the way this big butthead can, quote, be someone else's problem. Thank God we've had quite enough of Maxwell Kane, unquote. Graham takes me out to the mall to get new clothes, which is about as much fun as going to the dentist. Except maybe worse, because at least at the dentist, you're mostly just in a chair with the door closed, where at the mall, Grandma's like, hello, world, here I am, take a good look. The girl at the shoe store, she's got a little smirk, and she goes, 13, triple E? I mean, do they make shoes that big? And Graham goes, I'm quite sure they do, dear. Go ask your manager. And then she looks at me, and she goes, Maxwell, this is not major surgery. So will you please, as a special favor to me, wipe that wounded look off your face and try to be polite? You're right. The manager, when he comes out with these big Brand X running shoes, like he wants to help me take off my old shoes, like he's pretty sure I can't do it by myself. But I give him this look and he backs off and he lets me do it myself. I wish you'd wash those laces, dear, Graham says when I'm squishing around in the new shoes. That's the fashion. Totally misread that. I wish you'd tie those laces, dear, Graham says when I'm squishing around in the new shoes. That's the fashion, the manager says with a kind of laugh. Actually, they're designed that way. You don't need to lace them up. And just to prove what a jerk he is, I tie up the laces, and that makes Graham happy. Which is funny sometimes, how little it takes to make her happy, except you really can't figure out until you've already done it. I mean, does that make any sense? Finally, we escape from the mall, and I've got enough new clothes to last me, as Graham points out, a week or so. You could just keep letting down his cuffs, Grim says, except they don't have cuffs now. And what am I thinking? I think he looks quite handsome, Graham says. Maxwell, please turn around and keep your shirt tail tucked in. Leave him alone, Grim says. He's not a fashion model. I just can't get over it, Graham says. Our little Maxwell's growing up. Growing is right, Grim says. The boy is certainly growing. The deal is, Freak and I get to be in the same class. He made the fair Gwen go in and see all these people at school because I wasn't supposed to be in the smart classes. No way. And they finally agreed that it would be good for Freak having someone to help him get around. Grandma's worried about it, and she doesn't want to sign the papers. Like, she thinks the LD class has done me some sort of good, and me being in the genius class is just going to make me slower and dumber than ever. But one night, I came up the cellar stairs real quiet, and Grim is saying, let's just give it a try. Nothing else has worked. Maybe what he needs is a friend. The one thing he's never had with all these special teachers. And the next morning, she signs the papers. And Freak helps me find my name on the class list. And it's true, we're in the same classes. At first, all of the other kids are so into looking cool and acting cool and showing off their new outfits, they hardly notice us in the hall. Freak riding high on my shoulders, or the deal where his desk is always right next to mine. That wears off, though. And by the time we leave math, which is just passing out textbooks and a bunch of numbered chalks on the blackboard, you can hear the whispers in the hallway, like, hey, who's the midget? And there goes Mad Max. And excuse me while I barf. And what escaped from the freak show? And God, that's disgusting. Maxwell came. This is from Mrs. Donnelly, the English teacher. She's new to the school. And when I nod and raise my pencil, she goes, Maxwell, will you please stand up and tell us the class something that you did this summer? Which, if she wasn't new to the school, she'd know better, because getting up in the class and saying stuff is not something that I do. Maxwell, is there a problem? By now, there's a lot of noise, and kids are shouting stuff like, forget it, Miss Donnelly. His brain is in his tail. Ask him to count. He'll paw the ground. Maxipad, ask him quick about his dad. Killer Kane, got a kid who's got no brain. And Miss Donnelly had this look like she stepped into something and she can't quite get it off her shoe. The shouting and the singing goes on, and pretty soon some of the kids are throwing stuff at us. Pencils and erasers and wadded up paper. And it's like Miss Donnelly had no idea what to do about it, and the room is full on out of control. Then Freak climbs up on his desk, which makes him about as big as a normal person, standing up, and he starts shouting at the top of his lungs, order! He shouts, order in the court, let justice be heard. And for some reason, maybe because he looks so fierce with his jaw sticking out and his little fists are all balled up, and the way he's stamping his crooked little feet, everybody shuts up. And there's this spooky silence. Finally, Mrs. Donnelly says, you must be Kevin. Is that right? Kevin has this look. He's still acting really fierce, and he goes, sometimes I am. Sometimes. What does that mean? It means sometimes I'm more than Kevin. Oh, said Mrs. Donnelly, and you can tell she has no idea what he's talking about, but she thinks it's important to let him talk. So, Kevin, can you give us an example? Next thing I know, Freak has his hands on my head, and he's getting himself up on my shoulders, and he's tugging at me in a way that I know means stand up. So I do it. And I stand up in class, and I can see Miss Donnelly's eyes get bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm standing there with Freak high above me, and it feels right. And it makes me feel strong and smart. How's this for an example? Freak is saying. Sometimes we're 9 feet tall and strong enough to walk through walls. And sometimes we fight gangs, and sometimes we find treasure. Sometimes we slay dragons and drink from the Holy Grail. Mrs. Donnelly is backing up to her desk, and she's like, oh my, that's very interesting. I'm sure. Can you both just sit down? But Freak is riding me like he's the jockey and I'm the horse, and he's steering me around the classroom, showing off, and he's raising his fist and punching it in the air, and he's going, Freak the Mighty, Freak the Mighty. And pretty soon he's got all of the kids chanting, Freak the Mighty, Freak the Mighty, even though they don't know what he means, what he's talking about. I'm standing up straight, as tall as I can, and I'm marching exactly like he wants me to do, right and left, backwards and forwards. And it's like music or something, and I don't even have to think about it. I just do it. And all these kids are chanting our name. And Mrs. Donnelly has no idea what's going on. And she's definitely flipped out, more or less hiding behind her desk. The whole class is raising their fist in the air and chanting, "Freak the mighty, freak the mighty, freak the mighty." And I can't explain why, but it was really pretty cool. I'm going to stop for a second. Two things. Page 78, at the top of the page, top first paragraph. It makes me feel strong and smart. For the first time, Max starts to feel that he's worth something, and he acknowledges it by saying, "I feel strong and I feel smart." So when you fill out your character chart for chapter 12 and you talk about growth in a character, page 78, first paragraph, up at the top, it's real short. Max says he feels strong and smart. That's a big deal for a kid who refers to himself as a butthead, as an LD, someone who paws the ground to count, like you teach a show horse or a dog. It's a pretty big deal for him. It's kind of a turning point in the book. It's not the climax, but it sure is the start of Max changing. Page 79. Anyhow, that's how Freak and I got sent to the principal's office the first time together. Mrs. Addison, she's the principal, she takes one look at us waiting outside of her office and she goes, "What have we here?" "I'm afraid there's been a slight misunderstanding," Freak says. "If you'd be so good as to allow me to explain." Mrs. Addison is this really serious acting lady with tight gray hair and a bun and these suits that make her look like she works in a bank or something. And she has this funny little smile, like she's sucking on a lemon. And it quickly turns sweet and she goes, "By all means, let's hear what you have to say. Convince me." I can't really remember what Freak said, except that he used so many big words that she had to keep looking stuff up in the dictionary, which she seemed to get a real kick out of. But the important thing is, whatever Freak told her, she fell for it. All right. So that takes us to the end of chapter 12. I'm really encouraging you right now to go to your Google Drive to search reading response chart and for you to complete chapter 12 right after we read this. It's fresh in your mind. If you need to go back and watch this video again, I kind of gave some helpful hints on how to fill it out. Please do that. So today, you've listened to me drone on and read pretty poorly next to my fire. You're going to be assigned the chapter 12 comprehension questions and working on the chapter 12 part of the reading response log. To my kiddos who are new and joining us, on Google Classroom, you will find specifically just to you an assignment titled the reading response chart. I will take care of inputting materials from chapters 1 through 11 for you. Okay, I'm going to ask you all to start with chapter 12 today. If you have not read chapters 1 through 11, you have the choice to do a couple things. You can, and I will put this on your reading response chart. There is a YouTube link for an individual by the name of Mr. Don, and he reads each single chapter, kind of just like I did. He's going to read each single chapter in some pretty annoying voices, pretty much worse than what I just did. But the chapters range from being 5 minutes to about 9 minutes long. And so over the next couple of days, if you just want to listen to that, you can. If you feel like you can read those chapters, go ahead and start reading those chapters. It's a pretty quick read. Honestly, listening to it is a great way to get caught up because it doesn't feel like it's as much, and the chapters go pretty quickly. And it's a great book. I love it. I think we've enjoyed it so far. That's what I have for today. And so Tuesday, ReadWorks. Let me know by Tuesday evening if you want to meet sometime on Wednesday, and we'll get that scheduled and set up. And then Thursday, we will have the Google Meet at 10 a.m. And then Friday will be another ReadWorks assignment. Okay? All right. So I hope you guys have a wonderful Monday. Don't know if it's supposed to snow yet. Everybody in my house is super pumped about the snow. I'm not a snow person, but I do have my Christmas tree up. Ooh, it's fancy. Okay. See, it gets weird when I'm not in class with you guys because then I'm, kind of loses some of the fun. So now it's just like I'm this really weird person talking to you guys on video in front of my fireplace, which is amazing, with Sunday Night Football in the background. Oh, and I still didn't finish all my assignments for Bellarmine that are due Tuesday. Miss Berry's school tip number 4027. Don't wait till the last minute. Okay, I will see you guys